Zoom is unable. Zoom is unable to detect your camera. आ रहा है. Camera पे चल नहीं रहा है. A very good afternoon to one and all. I hope I'm audible. Aditi Goyal, can you please just let me know whether I'm audible? Yes, students, am I audible to all of you? Yes, ma'am, that's great. Okay. So I welcome you all to the very first session of this contemporary issues in management, wherein we have tried to incorporate all those very concepts in the field of human resource management and marketing, which are not there in your syllabus. So whatever we are doing is something extra, not a part of your curriculum, but they are those topics that have been drafted in consultation with the corporate. We have had a discussion with the corporate that when these students join, what is your expectation from them? What are the concepts that are actually prevailing, that are actually going on in the in the market scenario? And based on that very feedback, we have been able to design a course. Okay, so now let me try to okay. The other one system, the camera is not functioning, so I have tried to connect through a different laptop. Okay. Now the very first topic that we have for today. Anyone? The very first topic that we have today is whistleblowing. So can anyone make a guess what would be whistleblowing? Yes, anyone? We have always seen a policeman blowing a whistle. And when does he blow a whistle? So just connect it with that very aspect only. What do you think would be whistleblowing? Why does a policeman have to blow a whistle? On what circumstances does he blow a whistle? Anyone? Let us try to make it an interactive session. Yes, Dhairya? Okay, let us go ahead with it. When we talk about, okay, pointing a problem, grab attention and alert someone about something. Are you people not able to unmute yourself? Is it? Okay. Now, yes, very rightly said. We need to talk about what is whistleblowing in the corporate world. When we talk about whistleblowing, as you people had rightly pointed, whistleblowing is something which we see a policeman blowing his whistle when he sees something wrong is being done. when he sees a crime is being reported. So that same connotation is also extended to your corporate world. So if I am an employee of an organization and I feel that my organization is indulging in some unfair practice, there is something, an illegal activity that is going on in an organization, and I wish that the management should take some action for it, it is then that the employee blows the whistle. So therefore, we have the same connotation attached to it, just like a policeman blows a whistle when he sees a crime being committed. In a similar manner, in the corporate world, when an employee sees that something wrong is being done in the organization, when a malpractice is being committed by in an organization, that is when the employee blows the whistle. Okay, so I hope the concept is now clear. So let's move ahead with it. So we have meaning of the term whistleblowing. Whistleblowing means calling attention to wrongdoing that is being done, that is being committed in the organization, that is occurring within an organization. While whistleblowing is an act wherein an employee discloses what he believes to be unethical to management. That is, there are two types of whistleblowing that we have. As an employee, if I feel that something wrong is being committed in the organization and I report it to the external party could be media, it could be government, it could be some association, or I take that very case to the court. So when I blow the whistle wherein the external people get to know about it, that is what is known as your external whistleblowing. On the other hand, if I raise my voice that something wrong is being conducted in the organization, I take that very issue, discuss it with my top management, I discuss it with my supervisor. In the organization, there's a concept called hotlines, wherein if you feel that something wrong is being committed, there's a grievance cell. So you just need to make a call on those hotlines. Your entire grievance, your complaint will be recorded, and then the appropriate authorities will be taking some action on it. So there are two types of whistleblowing. Internal whistleblowing, wherein the employee raises the alarm and kind of informs about something wrong being committed within the organization. That is internal whistleblowing. On the other hand, if the employee is aware of something wrong being committed and he raises it or reveals it to the outside organization, that is known as your external whistleblowing. Now, students, I would like to tell you one thing, that once this session is over, we would almost take one hour in it, wherein we would be discussing many corporate examples about whistleblowing and all. So once, how we would be proceeding, at the beginning, I would be first creating a base so that you people become familiar with the terms and the nuances of this very term. Then we would proceed towards discussing the internal examples, the examples within India of whistleblowers, and some examples of whistleblowers outside India. So both at international and national level, people who have made the headlines of the newspapers because of whistleblowing, that is what we're going to do. Towards the end, after every session that would be there in your add-on course in management, contemporary practices in management, towards the end of every course, you are going to have a small MCQ, multiple choice questions. So whatever we are discussing right now, on those very basis, the MCQ question, MCQ has been prepared for you. And this is how your performance will be evaluated. Okay, so I hope it is clear to you. So we have two types of whistleblowing, internal whistleblowing and external whistleblowing. The next question, is whistleblowing something that takes place only in the private sector? We do have some names over here wherein we are going to discuss about some of the private organizations, some of the people who were involved in the Whistleblowing Act. So any person who is raising his voice against something wrong being done with an organization, we have the former Enron Vice President, Sherron Watkins, and we also have a case of tobacco executive, Jeffrey Wiggins. Now, what was the issue? That is what we're going to discuss now. But coming to the question, it is believed that probably whistleblowing is an act, a malpractice that is only being committed in a private sector. But this is not the case. Government by its very nature is supposed to be all the more transparent, all the more responsible, because we always say that the people have got their vested interest in the government, the people have got good amount of faith in the government dealings. So if anything happens wrong or any unethical act happens in the government agency, raising the voice against it becomes all the more important. So whistleblowing is no way restricted to a private sector. Rather, we have the instances wherein the whistleblowing has been done in the public sector as well as in the private sector. There are certain students who are waiting in the waiting room. Okay. Now, moving ahead, let us take what was the case of Enron Vice President Sherron Watkins. Have you people heard of it? Any idea? Anyone? If I am not, you people can raise your hands and probably then I can unmute you. Anyone? Any idea about, or any other example that you want to give me regarding a whistleblower? Okay. Now, let us take the case of, we will have Sherron Watkins and the tobacco executive Jeffrey Wigand. So let me first take the case of Jeffrey Wigand. Now, Jeffrey Wigand was an American and former vice president of research and development at Brown and Williamson in Kentucky. Now, he was working in development of reduced harm cigarettes. Okay, and it was in the year 1996 that he blew the whistle on tobacco tempering that was being done at the company. And if you people have heard about, there was a movie called The Insider that was released in 1999. I again repeat the name of the movie, The Insider. The Insider movie that was released in 1999 portrayed him and the story. So what was the malpractice being done in this tobacco manufacturing company and how it was reported? That is what is covered in this entire movie. Now, Wigand became famously known as a whistleblower on February 4th, 1996, when he appeared on news program and he gave an interview of 60 minutes. And in that very interview, he shared that Brown and Williamson had intentionally manipulated its tobacco blend with chemicals such as ammonia. I again repeat this very line. The company had deliberately manipulated the tobacco's blend with chemicals like ammonia. The reason why it was done. By chemically, tampering the formula, the addiction to the people for tobacco increased. So that was the reason for it. If people become addicted to tobacco, chewing, or to the cigarettes and all, it is a win-win situation for the company. But the effect of nicotine in cigarette smoking, we all are aware, it is something which is carcinogenic. It leads to cancer. So he raised his voice, and according to Wigand, he was subsequently harassed, received anonymous death threats. In fact, he was also removed from the company for taking this very case in the public. But then now we see him as a celebrity. So we have the example of Jeffrey Wigand, a famous whistleblower who was working as a tobacco executive. So this is about a case wherein whistleblowing has taken place in a private sector. Now, there are instances wherein people, even if they see something wrong being committed in the organization, they are not able to raise their voice. They're not able to highlight it in the eyes of the management. They're not able to bring it into the notice of the management. Now, what could be the reasons for it? The very first reason, you do not have any trust in the internal system. If I raise my voice against a malpractice being done by my superior, the top management, will it take some action on my complaint? So you do not have any kind of trust in the internal system. Internal system Weak functioning of the internal system is the main reason why internal whistleblowing program tends to fail. The second reason, unwillingness of employee to be snitches. What does this mean? It means that the employees show reluctance to bring the malpractice or to highlight something wrong being done. Why should I do it? Why should I get into it? Let me be a silent observer. I do not want to be a person who is raising the voice against something being done. Let it be done by somebody else. So it is unwillingness on the part of the employees. Misguided union solidarity. Misguided union solidarity, that is the pressure that is put by the other people. The other people might try to convince you that whatever wrong is being done, even if you want to raise your voice, don't do that. You would be facing problems. Leave it. So there is so much of external pressure. Union solidarity, it also means that you want to be a part of the group. And if you raise your voice, so you might be removed from the group. Fear of alienation from peers. Then, believe that management is not in line with your thinking. What you think is wrong, management might not be in tune with your thinking. It is not necessary that your thinking and management perspective, they both have to be, they might not reconcile. So what you think is wrong might be completely fair enough by the management. What you think is wrong from the employee's point of view, but it is bringing profit to the management. So they are okay with it. So your belief and management belief, there is a clash between the two, and which again tends to make you, weak about raising your voice against a malpractice. Fear of retaliation. This means that you have a fear that in case you raise your voice, something wrong might be committed. You might lose your job. You might be given threat, or the management might take some harsh action against you. So these are some of the main reasons why the internal whistleblowing program tend to be a failure. See, the management, the government has taken various steps to ensure that this internal whistleblowing program is made strong. They are taking good amount of initiatives wherein they try that whistleblowing should be made strong so that if something wrong is happening in the company, the public does not suffer. But in spite of the initiatives that we are going to see that the government has taken, there are certain factors due to which internal whistleblowing program tends to go down the drain. So we have those 6 reasons due to which the internal whistleblowing program tends to be a failure. Moving ahead. But then also we see that there are certain people, in spite of the barriers that they might be facing, they still stick to their beliefs. So what is it that some people tend to be silent observers while some tend to raise their voice in the public or within the organization and say it confidently that this is what is wrong that is happening in the organization. I am not going to tolerate it. So what are the characteristics, the peculiar characteristics of such whistleblowers? Altruistically motivated. The word altruism means selfless. Something wrong is happening in the organization, but I am not being hampered by it. I am not being affected by it, so let it be. But a whistleblower, even if they feel that something wrong is being done for on another person, then also they are not able to take it. They are not able to see the other person suffer, and thus for their suffering also they would raise their voice in the public or within the organization. So they are altruistically, selflessly motivated to work for the benefit of all. Then, utilitarian. Utilitarian, wherein they think that everyone lies at the same platform. So why something wrong being done to the other? Fair treatment is meant for all. It is a right for all. So we all should be treated on a similar platform. They are uninterested in altering their behavior. They are convinced that whatever they are taking, whatever action that they are taking, if they have decided to stand and say that this is wrong, Even if the people tend to put pressure on them, they will not change their behavior. They are very, very firm on their beliefs. They allow their attitude and beliefs to guide them. They cannot be overpowered. They are very, very clear in their thinking, and you cannot change their thinking once they have made the decision. They will stick to what they think is wrong. If it is wrong, it has to be reported no matter what happens, no matter what is the opinion given by the other people around them. And it has been observed that generally the whistleblowers are well educated, so they are aware of the rights. And if those rights are violated, they are the ones who are informed about it. They know what is the right, they know that has been violated, and where to report about its violation. They are well aware about it. They are well informed about it. And then they hold professional positions wherein they have certain bit of confidence that yes, since I occupy a great position, people will at least listen to me. So these are the characteristics of a whistleblower. A survey was conducted wherein it was we tried to identify that what is the effect on whistleblower, and we have the alarming figures in front of you. 2/3 of the whistle. Ma'am, will you share this PDF with us after class? Yes, Prakriti, I will be sharing it with you all. Don't worry. And I don't know, somehow I am not able to mute you on this Zoom, but I'm connected on the other mobile, on the laptop also. So in case if you people have any kind of problems, you can always discuss it. But the PPT would be shared once you have done your MCQ. Okay? Okay, fine. So, yes, Muskan Chitkara has a query. Okay, Muskan, let me try to unmute you if it is possible. Muskan, can you see? Are you able to unmute yourself, Muskan? Let me try to find you from here. Yes, no, you're not able to do that. Let me see how to do it. Just give me a second. Muskan, okay. Muskan, now you can try.
Ma'am, hello. Hello.
Ma'am, you are mute.
Yes, Muskan.
Ma'am, am I audible to you?
Yes, you are audible. Hanji,
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, actually, I was asking that is whistleblowing is in disadvantage also? Like disadvantage हो सकता है ये somehow या फिर ये सिर्फ as an advantages में ही रहेगा?
Okay, Muskan,
is it a positive thing, or okay, it can turn into a disadvantage?
Okay, fine, Muskan. Now, your question, and I am asking another question to you, and you give me the answer. You get answer for your question in that. You are an employee in the organization.
Yes, ma'am.
And you've got to know that the product that is being manufactured by your company is very, very harmful for the children.
Okay, ma'am.
Like Maggie case. It had high amount of ammonia lead, which was something that was, had a negative, a very bad effect on the brain development and strongly for the children. As an employee, if you raise your voice against this practice, you bring this information in front of the media, due to which a ban is put on that very product. Aren't you saving the lives of so many children?
Yes, ma'am, definitely. Yes. Definitely, it's an advantage here because I am addressing an issue here. Yes. But my point is that when it comes to like some people criticize, they actually take advantage of this. Like even if there's no problem, they create it. So my point is that if they are doing that, so will they come into the whistleblower? Will they be counted as a whistleblowers?
Okay. See, Muskan, the point is that when we talk about whistleblowing, see, whistleblowing is something, if you raise your voice against something which is wrong being done in your or you are, let me unmute the other participants. Please, I request all of you to unmute yourself, mute yourself so that we don't have any kind of disturbance. Muskan, coming to your query.
Yes, ma'am.
Some people might, if I have great amount of resentment against my, let's say my head.
Yes,
and just to settle the scores, I raise my voice, I put a false allegation on that head. That is, I guess, what you were trying to.
Yes, ma'am, exactly.
Okay. So I have put false allegations on it. But see, just by putting this false allegation, there has to be strong evidence to prove that whatever I am saying is right. If I do not have those those proofs, then I can be in thick soup. Because I have deliberately put a question and deliberately tried to hamper someone's character or someone's integrity. And thus a strict action can be taken against me also. So whistleblowers is not, when we use this term whistleblowing, of course, I agree to the fact that sometimes to settle the scores, people see it as a weapon, wherein they're able to, get their personal grudges being solved.
Right, ma'am.
Right. But that is a negative aspect of it. And this does take place. I am not ignoring it. But majorly it has been observed that the whistleblowers who have, made headlines or who have earned good amount of reputation, they were the ones who were able to save the public. They were the ones who were able to literally save the lives of so many people. We would be seeing many corporate cases, and like one case that I've just discussed with you, Jeffrey. Increasing the amount of nicotine. Imagine tobacco is as it is harmful for the people, and increasing its the nicotine's content further. Imagine the harm is being increased exponentially.
Right, ma'am.
Right. So it is like we always say there are good people, there are bad people.
Yes, ma'am. But ma'am, will they call? Yes, can we call them whistleblower as well?
I would believe that they should be called as troublemakers. Why whistleblowers?
Yes.
Call the beauty of this word whistleblower.
Yes,
I would prefer to call these people as troublemakers.
Yes, ma'am. Okay.
I can see Sarbaz. He has raised his hand. Yes, Sarbaz.
Ma'am, very good afternoon.
Very good afternoon, Sarbaz. Hanji.
Ma'am, recently, ma'am, a very popular YouTuber, Gaurav Taneja, whistleblowed against Air Asia for their safety standards.
Yes, ma'am. That was the latest one that has happened. Very good, Sarbaz. So now see, Muskan, when we have people who have raised their voice, they have saved the life of so many people. So whistleblowing always, please whoever it is, can someone identify who that person is? Okay. So moving further.
Thank you, ma'am. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Okay, moving further. What does whistleblowing have to do with ethics? Now we have a case of whistleblower's testimony in California court. A whistleblower, his name has never been disclosed as such, so we do not know who the person is. A whistleblower once testified in California court about how his boss had regularly been ordering him to discard some of the company's toxic waste into a local storm drain. So rather than decomposing that toxic waste in a proper manner, under the instruction of his boss, he was throwing them, discarding them in some of the local storm drain. So one fine day, he raised his voice against it and he gave his testimony in the court. So the judge asked him that you had been silent for so many years when this malpractice was being done. How come now you have decided to raise your voice about it? So that person said, I was fishing with my grandson and it suddenly occurred to me that the waste I was dumping was going to pollute the water. And thus, this might put an end to the fishing experience that I enjoy with my grandson. So, you know, it is like we have always seen that a person who has been very, very unethical has been has been involved in some unethical practice or the other. But sometimes some incident takes place which rings a bell in his mind. His conscious, we say his deep lost, slept conscious, it gets awakened up. And that is when he says, no, what I've been doing was wrong. And now it's a time to bring the everything on the right track. So sometimes your conscience plays a very big role. And if you have a strong conscience, believe me, whatever may be the hurdles that may be placed in your path, you will not stop. You will not stop, yourself. You will not be able to stop yourself. You will raise your voice against. Okay. So whistleblowing definitely has to do a lot with ethics. Yes, who is it?
Ma'am, you didn't explain the last slide.
The last slide, let me go back to it. Oh, sorry, I skipped it. Okay. Let me finish this because I have started with it. I'm sorry. Okay. But let me finish this and I'll come back to the previous slide also. So whistleblowing has a lot to do with ethics because when a person starts understanding that his action is wrong, when his conscience becomes alive, it becomes alive, it becomes kicking. That is when you realize that this is right, this is wrong, this is fair, this is unfair, this is black, this is white. And you decide that now whatever may happen, I will stick to what is right. I will stand up for my principles. Okay, even if it brings good amount of problems to me. So yes, whistleblowing is strongly connected to the ethics. Coming back to the previous slide that I had skipped, a survey was conducted that the people who had raised their voice, who were whistleblowers, did they face any kind of problem? So yes. 2/3 of whistleblowers lost their job. I gave an example of Jeffrey also, the tobacco one. He was subsequently harassed. He received anonymous death threats. And yes, he was sacked from his job. So yes, 2/3 of the whistleblowers lost their job. They were forced to resign from their organization. They were blacklisted. They were not able to get any job in the field. 2/3 had declining physical health with too much of stress. It started affecting them physically also. Over half of the whistleblowers who were interviewed had family problems. The reason why they had family problems. 2/3 of them had severe financial problems. So that is what led to further family problems. It has been observed that the family was putting them pressure that why do you need to, get involved into all this? When everyone is silent about it, why do you need to be a great person? Let it be. As long as it is not bothering you, why don't you keep your eyes closed? So they started having tiff with their family also. So they did have family problems. 84%, surprisingly, it's a very high number, definitely suffered from severe depression or anxiety. So when we talk about standing against the malpractice, it takes good amount of courage. Yes, who wants to say?
Yes, sorry to disturb you. Ma'am, there's some voice in the background. Can you please ask someone to mute?
Okay.
Yeah.
I think, is it right now?
Yes, ma'am, it's fine.
Okay, great.
No, ma'am, it's coming again. There's someone who hasn't mute.
I request all of you to please mute yourself.
Ma'am, it's done, I guess. Thank you.
Done. Okay, moving ahead. We move on to the next slide. Now, government has the Government Accountability Project. It lists 4 ways as to how you can blow the whistle. So what are those ways? Reporting something wrong that is being done to proper authority. This is being referred to internal whistleblowing. So bring it into the notice of the supervisor, hotline, that is what I had explained it to you, or an inspector general. Inspector general could be a internal person who is responsible for checking the quality of the product that is being manufactured. So you can raise your voice, report the wrongdoing to them. You refuse to participate in whatever wrong is being done. I have put my foot down that if you are not going to listen to me, okay, I am not going to be the party to your wrong action. Okay. Then you take the matter to the court, testify in a legal proceeding, like Jeffrey. He took it to the court, and we would be also having a case of Subramaniam Swamy when he took it to the court, the wrongdoing to the court. Leaking evidence of wrongdoing to the media. Social media has become a part and parcel of our life, right? So if you have proper evidence, give it to the media, and it will be there on all the channels. It will be streamed everywhere. We have so many cases wherein people have made a recording of what is being wrong done with their hidden cameras, and they have put it on YouTube. They have shared it on Instas and so other social media platforms, and they have brought the issue into the notice of the public. And then the government can take the action against them. How to blow the whistle without blowing your career, because ultimately towards the end, I have to protect my job. I am not Mother Teresa who's going to work without money. I need a career. So there are 8 tips that have been given to blow the whistle without blowing your career. First, tend to your safety. In the sense, if you feel that you were involved in something wrong and it was not being done intentionally, I was not aware that the signatures that I am putting in the document, what were the actual contents of the document. So first you bring it to the management that this is something which was wrong something wrong that was being committed and I was not aware of it. So protect yourself. Gather data. Nobody is going to believe you if you do not have your facts and figures at right places. So don't take an action first. Don't jump to the action. First, do your thorough research about it. Share your facts. It might be that whatever information that you have got, according to you, you might be thinking that this is sufficient. Consult a person who is involved, who has a good hold over law and legalities. He or she can probably tell you that this information is still insufficient. What more information needs to be gathered? That person might give you good amount of guidance about it. Share your good intentions. Why do you need to why do you need to highlight it? How that wrong action is being hampering the society, or how is it affecting the people? Highlight it. That is when your intention to serve the society, to protect the masses, that is what will protect you always. Avoid conspiracy. That is what somebody, when Muskan had raised the point that to settle the scores, that is why we say avoid conspiracy. Do not, if the lap is offensive, if something wrong has been done, but it is not reportable, it is a very minor thing. Confront the individual in a respectful and direct way. No need to take it directly to the top management. Avoid any kind of conspiracy. Tentatively share your concerns. Discuss your concerns with the others. That I feel, let's suppose if my supervisor is committing something wrong, discuss your concern with him in a very, very light manner. That is just to know, is it a wise decision to corner the supervisor, or you need to skip the supervisor and go to the top management. Discussion with the supervisor might help you to know that the instructions were given by the top. What can the supervisor do? So that means taking your problem or taking the wrongdoing to the top management will not lead you anywhere. So it is better that you resort to some other path. Get other person's point of view also. And finally, if you have all the information with you, you are convinced, you have discussed your problems, you have discussed the issues with the other person also, your intentions are good, you really want to help the people, then take it to the top level. So with these 8 ways, you can ensure that whatever action that you are taking, it will at least not blow your career. Next. The government has made, these are the main laws that the government has formulated to protect the whistleblower. They come under the category of whistleblower protection laws. So in 2003, the government, the Law Commission of India, they recommended the adoption of the public interest disclosure. So if you have ever heard about when the share prices are, some information about mutual funds is being given, or when some information about shares is being given, they would always say statement issued under public interest. That is what they mean by that. The Public Interest Disclosure and Protection of Persons Making the Disclosure Bill 210 was renamed, and now we have the Standing Committee. Standing Committee is wherein whatever matter that you report, they take an action on it. The Whistleblowers Protection Bill. We have seen that so many people were actually harassed when they tried to raise their voice against the management. So to give protection to such people, the Whistleblowers Protection Bill 2011 was passed by the Lok Sabha on December 28, 2011. So yes, we have a long way to go. 100% coverage of protection is not provided to the whistleblowers, but then at least steps have been taken and rigorous steps are being taken. At least we have increased our pace, wherein we are trying a level best to give a protection coverage to the whistleblowers so that the top management or their employers cannot harm them in any manner. Now, this is the case that we need to discuss now. There are 3 international cases that we are going to discuss. Cynthia Cooper of Worldcom. Now, these 3 people were, they made into the pages of Time magazine 2002. They were known as the Whistleblowers Persons of the Year. So what were the issues that were highlighted by them? First, Cynthia Cooper, she is known, associated with Worldcom scandal. It was known as prepaid capacity. Cynthia Cooper was once having a meeting with the auditors, and the corporate finance director explained that in the capital spending expenditure, there was an entry being made by the company related to prepaid capacity. So some kind of transaction that was being made, and what was the heading that was given for the transaction? Prepaid capacity, the heading of that expenditure. No one in the room had ever heard of it. No one was even aware what does it mean. So people started saying that let us give it to corporate controller David Mayers, and even the corporate controller had never ever heard of this term of prepaid capacity expenditure. So suspicious, Cynthia Cooper asked people, the head of the property accounting, what is the term? And then she said, she pulled fast her shoes and she said, let's get knowing about it. So Cooper and Smith are senior executives on the who were a part of the internal audit term. And finally, they were able to find one and trace it through the system. So once they started tracing it in the system, they realized that for good amount of years, this prepaid capacity was being flashed in the balance sheet of the company, Worldcom company. In 2002, as a result, they started getting more information, and they found that more entries about prepaid capacity, large amounts had been transferred from the income statement to the balance sheet from the 3rd quarter of 2001 to the 1st quarter of 2002. And you would be shocked. You know how much amount of transaction that this team exposed? $3.8 billion. Converting into Indian currency, it is this much amount of money. I can't even read it, though I'm good at maths. I'm not that bad at maths, but it would take me time. You people have sufficient time. This was the amount of scandal that was being done by the largest, and it is known as the largest accounting fraud in US history. Okay, so at the time of 2001, this was the largest incident of accounting fraud in US history. Accounting fraud amounting to $3.8 billion. Another, Colin Rowley of the FBI. Now, this is something which would help you to identify what had gone wrong. She was an American former FBI special agent, and she wrote a paper to FBI director that how the headquarters in Washington, D.C. had mishandled the information, the tip that was already available with them. The Washington DC headquarters they had information about that a suspected terrorist, Jacaris Mauzio, had already made his entry, had already entered into the borders of US. But Washington DC people did not take any action on it. They just ignored that information. For your information, the terrorist Zakasis, he was one who had been suspected that December 1994 Eiffel Tower hijacking of Air France 8969 was done by them. In other words, Air France flight 8969, it was an Air France flight that was hijacked on 24 December 1994 by this terrorist Mauzui. This information was, the people were alerted. The terrorists had murdered 3 passengers and their intention was to blow up the plane over the Eiffel Tower in Paris. When the aircraft reached Marseille, which is the second largest city in France, a counter-terror unit was already prepared. They had the information with them and they stormed the plane and killed all the 4 hijackers. Similar kind of information about the same terrorist move was available with Washington DC headquarters, but they did not take any action about it. They just kept it in, cold storage, that this is something which is baseless. And what happened? All of you are aware of it. September 11 attack 2001. So had the Washington DC headquarters acted on the information that was already there in their office, the people would have been saved. This September 11 attack, the Twin Towers attack that we so commonly call as, could have been saved. So Colin Rowley brought this, this lapse of the headquarters, the Washington DC headquarters into the limelight. Now, this is about the Enron case that we have. American former Vice President of Corporate Development at the Enron Corporation, Sherron Watkins of Enron. Watkins was called to testify before committees. She had been given warnings to Enron, then CEO Kenneth Lay, about accounting irregularities in the financial statements. So time and again, she was pointing out that some wrong, entries are being made. There is accounting irregularities. There is something grossly wrong. But then the CEO, Kenneth Lay, did not take any action about it. In 2001, finally, Watkins altered law of accounting irregularities in financial reports. However, she was criticized by the government for not reporting about this issue earlier. So first, she tried to make the people, within the management, she tried to give her warnings to Enron's CEO, but the Enron CEO did not pay any heed to it. And as a result of it, finally, she decided to take the case to the public. And that is when she reached the public and she served the entire case was presented. And that is how action was taken against the Enron company. So we do have cases of international whistleblowers. Let us come on to the cases of Indian whistleblowers. But before we actually begin with it, it is very interesting. The first whistleblower, can you ever think who was the first whistleblower? It was there in the pages of our epic, Vibhishan, the younger brother of Ravan, the king of Lanka. He was the one, Vibhishan was strongly convinced that whatever Ravan is doing is all wrong. And as a result of it, he followed he had good intentions. He, stick to his principles, and he informed Lord Ram about the whereabouts of Sita. And then finally, he joined Ram's army and fights against Ravan. So whistleblowing, I would say, it is being highlighted so much at abroad. But if we really see the pages of our own history, whistleblowing is where it has its grain in Indian seeds very strongly. Satyendra Dubey, another well-known whistleblower, but then met with a death and a wrong turn to the entire situation. He was the project director at the National Highways Authority of India. And he spotted that financial irregularities in handling of the GQ project that was assigned to him. He gave, anonymous letter. He wrote many anonymous letter to the PMO, telling the Prime Minister about the forged contract work. He stated in his anonymous letters that he had written to the Prime Minister that the tender that is being given to the people, their qualification, their financial stability is completely reported wrong in the papers. They were not fit enough to get those tenders. All their documents were forged, and their correct CV, the forged CV, was entirely sent by Satyendra Dubey to the Prime Minister. However, on November 27, 2002, he was shot dead in Gaya. And this made, it was a burning news in the pages of the history. So some of the Indian whistleblowers that we are going to discuss right now, though there are many, but Satyendra Dubey, his wrong intention, his correct intentions were, they saw a wrong end to it. Then, in November 2008, Subramaniam Swamy, he sought permission to prosecute A. Raja in regard to the 2G spectrum scam. Subramaniam Swamy, he wrote the many letters to Prime Minister, then Prime Minister Manmohan Singh, that you need to take action against A. Raja, well-known Satyam spectrum that we talk about. But however, then the Prime Minister did not take any action against any action on this very letter. And finally, Subramaniam Swamy decided to take this case in the court. So he filed the case in the court and then asked the CBI that you do a detailed investigation about it. And he played an instrumental role in putting A. Raja behind the bars. Subramaniam Swamy again played a very important role and called on the Indian government to re-auction the 2G spectrum. Another case, Shan Mugan Manjunath. Now, Manjunath, sorry. He was a marketing manager, grade A officer for the Indian Oil Corporation, and he was murdered for stealing a corrupt petrol station in UP. However, though he was murdered, and again, his courage also did not let him see the fame of the day, the light, the celebration that was actually he deserved. But then his selfless motive, his courage, his determination to do something good to the society and let the people not be cheated inspired IIM IT students, and taking him as the inspiration, IIM students established the Manjunath Shan Mugam Trust on his name. So even if we have the Indian whistleblowers who were not able to survive, who were not able to celebrate their victory, but then their names have been recorded, permanently recorded in the pages of our history. So this is from my side about whistleblowing. Now I request all of you, if you have any kind of doubt, any kind of example that you want to share, or any query, please go ahead.
Yes, ma'am, I had a doubt.
Who is it?
Muskan.
Yes, Muskan.
Ma'am, what about instances in which what the company does not come into clear spectrum of black and white? It is something which has opposing views that we can't determine. It could be really wrong for some, but it could be considered a necessity by others.
Muskan, in the sense that if I, as an employee, let me try to first understand your question properly. Is it that if I, as an employee, feel that something wrong is being committed by the management, but the management is convinced that this is right? Are you referring to that kind of a situation?
If there is a case which some think is a necessity and the company needs to do it, and others think that it is something that is unethical and wrong. For example, if the company discards its own very good condition products just to keep its own brand name at superior. Some might think that it is something the company needs to do, but other things that they are wasting the resources and they are going against the society because they could have donated it or done something better with it.
Okay. See, Muskan, if you really take the case, let's take an example to clarify your question. If it's an IT company, okay, and if let's say the old system that they have become outdated, and they need to keep abreast with the recent developments taking place in the technology. So, keeping that thing in mind, they need to do away with their old systems. Let's take this example now. Government has made very strict rules that even e-waste, that we call it electronic waste, there are measures to be adopted to discard it. We people have the habit that we keep our old mobiles with us. Even if an old laptop is not functioning properly, but then also we keep it. We at citizens level are doing it, which is also wrong. But for company, there are strict rules that electronic waste needs to be discarded in a proper manner. So what are the measures that government has stated? First option, all the discarded items, let it be given to the employees at a concessional rate. So it is called bidding that is being done. And this is a practice that is being followed very strongly and all over the companies. McKinsey, I very strongly remember, even HCL, whatever are the old PCs, they would give it to the employee, to the existing employees. If you want to purchase it, the company price at the when it was purchased is this. This is the concessional rate that we are giving it to the employees. If you want to buy it, buy it. So there are ways wherein the company can also act in an ethical manner and ensure that the electronic waste is decomposed, it is discarded in the best possible manner. But if you feel that the company is not doing it, it is not following it, you of course can take it to you can raise your voice about it. Why should the resources ever get wasted? That is true.
Yes, got it.
Okay. Any other? Any other questions that we have? Okay. So now let's get ready for the MCQ test that we have. And I hope, okay. Now, since we do not, nobody has raised their hand, so I hope there are no doubts. So let me start with the MCQ test. I am putting the link in this very chat box. If you want, I can put it in the mobile also, wherein you have your group. Just give me a minute, please. Okay. So start giving your answers now. It is available. Start submitting it. And once this entire session is over, then we would be releasing the scores of it, and we would be coming, we would, wind up this very session.
Ma'am, where is it?
I have put it on the chat box.
Ma'am, we didn't get it.
Just a minute. Let me do it again. Now is it there?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Should I put it in the, wait, I'll put it in the WhatsApp group also. Any feedback that you want to give about it? Anything that you would further, because this is the first time that we are doing it. If you people want any kind of an improvement or you have any feedback that needs to be given, you are most welcome to share it with us.